Good morning and welcome to Veterans Heartbeat on the Pulse of the Veteran, where we discuss issues of health, happiness, opportunity, and well-being of interest to the veteran community, their families, and the community who honors them.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Veterans Heartbeat, brought to you by River, the Rural Institute for Veterans Education and Research. My name is Jason Zencraft. My co-host Ed Lisofsky is here with me, and he is the Executive Director of River. We welcome you to a weekly wide-ranging discussion of issues, events, opportunities, and needs in our veteran community. Morning, Ed. How you doing?
Morning, Jason.
We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Farside Signs. They create amazing-looking vehicle graphics that will drive traffic to your business. They are located at 1526 South Avenue West in Missoula. Follow them on the web, Instagram, and Facebook, or just stop on by.
This morning we've got in the studio Dr. Nelson. She's a physiatrist, which sounds like psychiatrist, but actually it's a rehabilitation and physical medicine doctor with a fellowship in pain. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
So we're excited. She has affiliated with the River Clinic for the veterans out there that are having pain, and as Jason and I are getting ready to take off to New Zealand to present our paper on suicide, she's going to be a key to a new program we've started at the Institute, 2020-10. We are aiming to reduce the suicide rate in Montana from number 1 to number 10 by the end of 2020. How we're going to do that, of course, is with physical pain, which was the number one cause in the mortality review for the Department of Public Health and Human Services suicide review team. 53% of all veterans out there who complete suicide have chronic pain. So we're excited. A lot of the VA right now does not have a pain clinic in Montana. You have to go all the way to Denver. So she is part of the community care. You can request her services through your primary care physician. And we're going to talk a little bit about pain and pain management this morning. So I'm going to let you talk about what you do to help the pain people.
Yeah, do you want to give a little background of who you are, where you come from, and what your philosophy on pain management is?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I was a physical therapist for a while and went back to medical school and trained in the realm of physical medicine and rehabilitation in order to provide a comprehensive evaluation of people that have complex and chronic conditions of all sorts. But I've always been interested in how the body works, specifically the muscles and the nerves and the bones and how they all work together. So it was a natural fit for me to go into this field. And after working with folks that have had spinal cord injury, brain injury, amputations, burns, nerve injuries of all kinds, it was a natural connection then to follow up and do a fellowship with the Department of Anesthesiology for pain. And that way I can assess better what might be causing it and what treatment options are out there to eliminate it, and then also work with a team to try to manage it if it can't be eliminated.
Well, you work real hard on not just handing a bottle of pills to the veterans, and that was really kind of what we were excited about. Can you explain opiates in your practice?
Well, it's a big topic, a sensitive topic for sure. I would like to say that I have kind of ridden the opiate wave of not any to way too much to back down to where we are today with, I would like to say a pandemic, but for sure an epidemic nationally with the opiate overuse and misuse. We tend to swing too far one direction when we see that there's complications from one type of evaluation treatment technique that maybe didn't give us the results that we thought we'd get. Opiates are no exception. And my primary focus with the topic of opiates in my practice and with clinicians that I collaborate to care for people that use them is to individualize the use I don't have a blanket statement except one to say that at high doses, they can be not only lethal but destructive for not only the individual but also for the whole family and community. But undertreating the physical pain also can be very destructive. So we have to balance all of that out, weigh out the risks and hoped for benefits of not just opiates but all the medications that we might want to prescribe. But I am not a proponent of high doses of opiates, especially combined with benzodiazepines, some alcohol, and perhaps some self-medication off the street, illicit drugs.
So opiates could or could not be in the treatment maintenance. Chronic pain isn't treated, it's maintained. Isn't that what you were explaining to me?
I wouldn't say maintained, and I wouldn't say that all chronic pain is dependent on just management. I am a proponent of retraining the nervous system and how it processes information that comes in and goes out. So I do believe that there can be lots of changes made in how we process the sensation of pain, physical and emotional, or how they're intertwined. I don't feel like that a status quo with the nervous system actually exists. I think it fluctuates a great deal day to day based on how much you sleep and how stressed you might be or dehydrated you might be. It affects the pain intensity on different levels. So my hope is that the pain intensity can be reduced, that the duration of the pain experience can be shortened, that the episodes when pain is severe and completely debilitating can be trimmed back, so that when you have an episode that feels overwhelming, you have the ability to hold on to the fact that it's temporary and that tomorrow might be a really good day, just like yesterday was a really good day, and that we figure out how to modify those intense periods. That, in my opinion, is how we better approach managing pain, but it's the individual that has to be participating in that. So as you can tell, no real one medication, especially if you take the same medication every day and do the same thing all the time with a fluctuating and changing nervous system, you can tell that probably isn't the best model for how to take care of yourself and how to stay engaged with your family and friends.
So like a lot of vets say, I have my good days, I have my bad days. So you're saying let's train the veteran how to moderate the bad days and how to duplicate the good days.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I always appreciated when we first sat down with you is you talked about the psychology of pain management. And one of the things that you address right away, and I'll ask you to explain this a little bit better, is you sit down with your patient and start asking them questions of, do they understand the pain they're in? Do they understand all these different things about chronic pain? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think when people come in, the first thing I ask them to explain to me in their terms is what do they believe is causing the pain? What physical component? Is it muscles, bones, joints, soft tissue, nervous system? And ask them if they can understand in their mind how they visualize is the pain is being created, because that's the starting point. And once they will tell me, well, my back hurts or my neck hurts, and so I'm not sure why it hurts. I've seen quite a few doctors. I've had multiple surgeries or injections, and I had physical therapy, and I don't know why it hurts. Then I'll still push them just a little bit to say, most people have a thought about why they think it might hurt. Do you think we need to investigate that a little further? Because I do believe that if you don't have some understanding of where the pain is coming from, then you feel a little bit helpless in how you can self-direct the care for that pain or modify it in some way if you don't understand how you're built or how the nervous system works or how the muscles and the nerves work together. That's the beginning point for me. I also pick up from asking those types of questions if they feel like they have any empowerment at all, or they're strictly just a victim of the system or a victim of their own body that they reside in. And I think from that standpoint, we have to start talking about how the nervous system is an amazing anatomic and physiologic structure. And I think if you can understand all the things that the nervous system can do and how it can adapt, or how you can adapt to the things that you can't change, then you can feel like there's more meaning in your day and you're more a part of your day.
Well, you were explaining, and what really caught my attention was people have phantom limb pain. And that's pain that they genuinely feel, but there's no limb there. Can you go a little bit more in depth on that?
Sure. I always, I have people come in, they're angry or they're hurting and emotionally hurting, and they'll say, well, there's nothing you can do. Nobody can do anything, and you don't even believe me. You think it's all in my head. So I usually tell people that I wouldn't have been in the field this long if I didn't believe you. I'm not very good at treating pain that's outside your physical body, although there used to be a department at Sloan Kettering for addressing pain that's perceived outside your physical body. I think that when people understand more about the power that you have for what you think, what you feel when you think those thoughts, and how you can kind of redirect some of that, then there's that ability to change some of that on your own. And so believing someone and how they feel is important. So I use the example of phantom limb pain because most people understand that you can actually have pain where you don't have a body part. And if you can understand that the nervous system can hold on to pain in your hand when there's no hand there, then you can also understand how, even though the MRI or the x-rays or the CAT scans look totally normal, but you really hurt physically, if we can believe that you hurt where you don't have that hand, we can also believe that you hurt where your images might look normal. The key is, how do we address it? We can't massage a hand exactly if there's not one there, or give you exercises for it, but we actually do have some techniques and things that we can work on, like mirror therapy is one if you happen to lose a limb. That's one thing we do to try to change how the brain processes that information of those repeated pain signals going up the peripheral nervous system into the central nervous system.
Well, another thing that we've done at the Institute is done a lot of acupuncture. We do electrotherapy, things like that to help with the pain. Getting a little deeper into the treatments and whatnot, I spoke with the VA. They don't have a pain center here in Montana. The closest one is in Denver. So that means that the veterans are either going to Denver, and treatment of pain does not occur in one visit, does it not?
Oh, no. And honestly, my focus is that we start implementing how we address and treat pain at the primary care level and through all disciplines from the get-go, and that we all work together at doing that. We don't have enough doctors in the country to start with. We don't have enough nurses, but we certainly don't have enough specialty-trained physicians in the field of pain to just have you travel and go to a center. What I would like to do is have more of a ripple effect by educating all the providers that are out there that are willing to learn some of the philosophy behind decentralizing severe, intense pain that's been there for a long time. If we can work together, that would be the best approach, so that we can not require people to travel to one center.
Well, one thing that we've been working on, and we talked to you about, within River, we have education for health coaches that do physical training, and we're working on community EMS. Now, I know you came out of Alaska with your practice here recently, and that's how we're lucky enough to have a doctor of your caliber, and we're very excited about that. But you've worked with paraprofessionals, for lack of a better word. Can you explain your experience there?
Where, in Alaska, or just work with different disciplines?
No, I mean in Alaska, how they're bringing in...
Oh, sure. I'm really excited about the work that I'm been able to do in Alaska. And I jokingly said when I went up and talked to them about what they were looking for, that I had put notes in margins of my journals and paperwork and office scratchings. That was exactly what they wanted to do, that I've been doing that for years and hoped that someone would believe in the concept. And so when they said, no, this is what we want to do, is we want to bring a specialist into a primary care setting, then I couldn't have been more excited. I think that is a perfect model. I think that we have 36 providers and primary care providers in Alaska, and they have 7 primary care clinics. They take care of 65,000 Native Americans, and the focus of our work there is that I work with them as they hold on to their patient, who they refer to as customer owners, but they keep them. They don't offload them to a clinic or write a referral, go see Dr. Nelson. We work together. We talk about the cases, and that way there's a ongoing longitudinal relationship with the patient with their primary care provider, and they have that relationship with not only that patient but also with their family members. And it falls back into that family medicine model that I think works really well. You know them, you know their stressors, you know what happens when they lose a family member, and how that changes the needs of the whole family, and how when someone, perhaps the breadwinner, has a physical ailment that's catastrophic and they can no longer be the fisherman or the carpenter, then they work with the whole family to pull that back together. So my role is simply to say, let's look at what's causing the physical pain, and this is how I would look at it as a specialist. And then I teach them. We have an education room. We've designed special rooms that have different types of tables. They have anatomy apps on the big computer screen. We show the patients their ailing body part with the family in the room, with the primary care provider in the room, and then we talk about different treatment options. And you'd mentioned acupuncture and different things. We also have all of those resources within the institution, within the company, including traditional healing, behavioral health, nutrition, dietary, physical therapy, chiropractic care, and we integrate it all. So I think that's really important, that it happen concurrently and that those resources are there.
In Montana, and actually in a lot of states, they duplicate the frontier nature of Alaska. River has worked throughout Montana. We've been in some very remote places where it's 5 hours for the veteran to get a physician. And we've been promoting, and this is a big part of what we're saying in our paper going to New Zealand, is we can train a veteran in modalities, and they can do 80% of working with not only the veteran but the whole family, because that's a big part. And that's one of the things that we see. I'm not knocking the VA, but they're not mandated to work with the family. So a lot of the times we get secondary PTSD all the way down to the kids.
No, they say if anybody has an addiction, let's just pick addiction. If one person in a family has an addiction, it directly impacts negatively 7 other family members. That's just and when I say addiction, that doesn't have to be an opiate addiction. It can be an addiction to lots of things. So if you think of a physical change for one family member that requires the burden of care to be shifted to one other family member, now you have 2 people in the family that are unable to work or recreate or just be the person they used to be for the family. It affects the whole entire family. And in rural and remote locations like Montana, Alaska, sometimes in Wyoming, in some places in Wyoming, you also have that effect on the whole community or village. And so then trends develop, and then you have multi-generational loss. And that's what we're seeing in the United States. I've been practicing medicine for quite some time now, and I did some work and spoke to different folks at the legislative level in Cheyenne, and was fortunate enough to get the message out that when you take out one person from the family like that, then you are taking a whole community and changing their outlook. And those trends, if they cross one generation, they're more likely to continue and perpetuate, so the expectations completely shift for a whole society. And I think that's what we have seen with the opiate crisis, and that we have seen with some of the chronically injured folks that feel like they can't contribute back into society. As a physical medicine rehabilitation physician, I kind of jokingly say, don't bring your disability paperwork to me, because I'm the person that's going to try to make you do everything all the way through writing a novel when you have ALS. Those are the kind of folks that I trained, that I did my training with, and unfortunately sometimes our society just doesn't have either the resources, or maybe they just don't have the understanding that most people really want to be back out there, and if not in the community, at least with their family.
Yeah, at the very least, say the father has such bad knee pain, he can't go fishing, can't go hiking, can't do any of that stuff. The family's not going to leave him. And if they do have to leave him, he insists, oh, go have fun. Well, then there's that separation. You start building that wall in between the family. Or the family most likely says, oh, no, we'll do something else, Dad. So then the father starts feeling, guilty. I'm holding the family back. And like you said, that affects the whole family and the community.
As a mom, there's nothing worse than feeling like your kids are going to see you sick. And they don't want to see you sick, and you see the fear in their eyes, and they want you to do the same things you always did before. So part of what our society doesn't do as well as I've seen in others, is that it's okay that you're not exactly the same physically. But that doesn't have to mean that you change emotionally and psychologically, and that you aren't a contributor, and that you're not that same person in the role in the family. But our society, what I've seen, is that we just don't do that all that well. And we need to do a better job with that. And we need to hold those people that have changed up in the same place they were before. I think Christopher Reeve was a good example of trying to say, look, I'm still the same person. I love that he made a movie after he was already a tetraplegic.
Yeah.
And he said, look, this is what it's all about. I may not walk again, but I am doing exactly what I did before. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm an actor.
Yeah.
And that's me. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that, and the belief that we can have that.
Well, one thing that has really made a difference in my life, why I still fight to keep the Institute alive. And we've had a lot of people that said that the recreational therapy program was just a bunch of vets taking advantage of the system. And that bothered me because they hadn't seen what I've had the honor to see in the time that we've had that here. We've had fathers that wouldn't even go out and try and recreate with their family because of pain or whatever issue, the post-traumatic stress, whatever. And I know of 3 times that'll be burned in my memory to my grave where I heard a 5-year-old or a young kid say, I didn't know Mom and Dad could have fun.
Yeah, it's great to see. Yeah. We had one guy come in and same thing, the family was there, little girls were running around, and I was just standing there just making sure everything's going well, and I hear the little girl tell her mom, like, Dad's having a good day. Like, this is so great to see. He's having, hopefully everything will go back to normal. Which breaks your heart, in all honesty. But at the same time, it's still progress. Like, we kind of get into this mode where, just as Americans, where it's 22 vets commit suicide. Yeah, okay, do your 22 push-ups, but they don't want to see it. They don't want it, they don't want it in front of their face. So people kind of shy away from these things, but whether it's chronic pain, whether it's PTSD, they need to be addressed. And it doesn't need to be this, terrible, depressing thing. I mean, everybody has their trials and tribulations. The most important thing is that you continue to live your life, like Christopher Reeves. He continued to act. I'm sure he went down and was hit rock bottom, was, about to give up. But he pulled himself back up. And I really don't know his story very well, but I got to assume there's family members, there's friends, there's all these people there to help him. And now that's one of the things about the recreational therapy that is so important, is it builds a sense of community. Like, okay, one vet going out and fishing, that's one thing. Maybe it's peace, obviously it's going to be peaceful, some form of meditation. But when a group of vets go out, It's this community. It's this sense of belonging. They're not a burden anymore. Now they're part of this system, helping each other out. And then it becomes not, hey, they're helping me out, even though they did, but I get to help somebody else out. They see a new guy come in who's not talking, he's not looking around. So I know we deviated a little bit off from chronic pain, but it's all connected.
When you withdraw for any reason, whether it's emotional trauma or whether it's physical trauma, and you perceive yourself as different and not adequate, then that withdrawal is the first step of sliding into a depression where you don't feel worthwhile. So accepting the physical changes that you've gone through, even if it is accompanied by physical pain, is key. If you can't make it go away, then how do we work with it so that you remain the same person, so that you stay engaged with your family and your community? That's the key.
Well, I really appreciate your time this morning, Dr. Nelson. The key here is we have the expert at the Institute. We are a community care provider within the VA system. You, as a veteran, if you're getting health care within the VA system, have the right to ask your primary care physician for a referral over to Dr. Nelson. And if we get enough push on this, we can open this up within the VA. So this morning I'm asking everybody that has access to a veteran getting care in the VA system, reach out, get to your primary care doctor, and get a referral to the River Clinic because it's going to help you.
Thank you very much for coming on, Dr. Nelson.
Thank you very
much.
much.
For having me.
And thank you for joining the Institute.
So thank you very much for listening to Veterans Heartbeat. We'd not be able to bring it to you without all the support of the listeners. And thank you again to Farside Signs for sponsoring the show. If you do need a unique vehicle design, swing on by and check them out. Also, thank you to our main sponsor, River. River has an array of services such as veterans-focused education, a vestibular disorder clinic, and now non-pharmaceutical treatments for pain, anxiety, and depression. Check them out on Facebook or on the web at riverofchange.org. Lastly, we'd like to show our appreciation to all of our veterans. Thank you for serving our country and keeping it safe.